The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at theeppodcast.com.
Remember, the EP Podcast is on demand anywhere podcasts can be found, and always at theeppodcast.com. And then we have videos on our YouTube channel. An extended look at Mia Moore is up there right now. Some time with OSF and the Wellness House up there right now. There'll be video from today's interview out probably before the week is over. I might throw another one in there or two. All of them, this show, it's all brought to you by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. That Total Access checking account gives you free ATMs nationwide, even worldwide. I've tried it over in Europe. It works. Whatever the fee is, they put the money back in. $300 bonus with qualifying activities when you open up your account, paired with their mobile banking tools and award-winning customer service. Switching to a true community bank has never been easier, and guess what? No overdraft charges. The First National Bank of Evergreen Park wants you to stop in today in that iconic building at 95th and Pulaski. See them now or later this week. Do it on your time. The First National Bank of Evergreen Park, member FDIC. Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar. It is his first appearance on the EP Podcast. I've been waiting to have him here because I think I bumped into him 1,000 times around town already. Rick Ryan, he is your state representative. That is the 36th district. How are you?
I'm great, Chris. I'm glad to be here. Like you said, we keep running into each other, and we've never set this up before. So I'm glad to be here and have me on.
Yeah, we've sat at a few bars. Like we bumped into each other. We've sat at a bar or two. Just not this one.
I think it's just one. I think it was just at Spoken Vine.
Spoken Vine. I know that one for sure. Yeah, we bumped into each other.
And it was great food, great night.
Yeah, for sure. So this one here, I've had a few people sit down here and hang out at who are politicians at different levels. And one of the first things I always ask them is, well, why are you doing this? Because at times it seems like a thankless job. Plus, if you're a state representative, you do a lot of traveling back and forth from home to Springfield. That is one of the worst drives in the entire country, I would say. It's just the most boring drive. So why are you doing this?
First of all, it is quite a boring drive, but if you've ever driven from Nebraska to Colorado.
I've done that too. You're right. That is boring.
It's the same drive, but twice the length.
Right.
So a little bit
all
worse.
You see is just signs for Little America, and you don't realize it's 3 more states away. Yeah.
And believe it or not, even with all that corn you see in Nebraska, Illinois is still the number one exporter of corn in the country. So as to the why, I will tell you, I've been involved in local politics for, I hate to say decades, but many decades. I worked on President Obama's campaign for president for when he ran for U.S. Senate. I've run local races. I helped many people out. And I never thought really about me truly running for office until very recently. So I have a law practice in Oklahoma for 30-some years. And with the advent of Zoom during COVID, courts kind of freed up. What used to be a 60-hour week for me has turned into a 15 to 20-hour week. So I was having a discussion with my wife, about a year or two ago, and said, I needed something to more fill my day, my hours in my day. I don't know what it is, but I want to be something community-based, something I do for our neighborhood. We both grew up here. We both lived here our whole life. We care about the neighborhood. So we were trying to think of what that could be, and we're not having great success figuring what that might be. And then lo and behold, Representative, now Mayor Burke, called me and said she was not going to run again, and she really, really wanted me to run. Thought I'd be great at the job and represent our community very well. So my wife and I said, that's that thing you were talking about 2 weeks ago, that you can do good for our neighborhood and make sure it's a great place to live, or stay a great place to live, rather. And that's how it all started.
What's that like when you got somebody who's been doing it for a long time like her, and for a little while was pulling double duty with being a mayor and also being a state rep, and did a wonderful job at it, I felt like. I remember I even asked her on the show at one point, like, how are you going to do this? And she surprised me with how she was always around town and still making it down for her votes and able to handle both things. So what is that like when somebody like her, who probably could have picked anybody as like, hey, I think you'd be good for this, calls you up?
It's heartfelt. It's touching. It's I will tell you, we know Kelly from being here, but I only get the perspective of what she was like in Springfield. But once I went down there, literally every person I ran into said, "You got big shoes to fill." And I told everyone I bought giant socks to be able to do that. And I brought them all down to Springfield with me. But I mean, from the doorman to the security guy at the desk to the Speaker of the House to anybody I ran into down there just said how great a job she did for us here. So it truly is an honor to be asked by somebody that special to succeed her. And I think I just have the requisite skills for it. I've been around a long time. I've been involved in our community at many different levels, being president of many associations, the baseball league, the booster club for the high school. I think I'm just kind of a natural born leader, just, through coaching, mentoring youth. So it's just something she thought I'd be good at, and I think I thought I'd be good at. And after doing our first session, I think I'm going to be very good at it.
I've gone down to Springfield a couple different times. I think I was a chaperone at one point for the school to take some of the kids down there. Even when I was younger, I went there. My mom ran for state representative in a different district than this one when I was a kid. So I'm a little familiar with the hustle and the bustle of it. Mm-hmm. Like when you go down into the Capitol in the state, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people going from room to room. They're doing different things. And then all of a sudden there's like a vote or there's a debate or something like that. Do you do this all on your own? Or for you, this had to be like, it's almost like walking into something where somebody who's done it for years and years knows the flow, and you're probably trying to figure, okay, where do I go? What do I do? How do I affect the things that I want to go and do? Like, do you have like handlers or helpers or people that have done it before on staff or is it you in the car driving down there and figuring it out?
A little bit, all the above and none of the above all at the same time. So, Kelly's been great. She says, anything you need, call me. But you know what? She decided not to do this again. I didn't want to be a burden on her.
Right.
If she wanted to keep doing it, she would have kept doing it. So I don't want to be calling her up on every little thing and find out how to do it. So I wanted to kind of jump into the pool by myself and, swim and learn to do what I need to do. So we do have a staff member that's assigned to several legislators that can be helpful, but they've never been a state rep either. So they're helpful with scheduling things and getting things done. But the best advice I got was from several people, some state reps that are down there now, some people I trust, advise me, is that initially sit back, listen, don't talk a lot, pay attention to who's talking to who's doing what. So I just watched the flow of it and picked it up pretty quickly. It's not massively complicated. It's just something you have to pay attention to how it works and what's the most effective way I can be part of that process. And I think I picked it up pretty quickly.
When you were running, you and I had a conversation because I want to get into what it's like down there, but I don't want to get too far ahead because I want to ask you about this.
Yeah.
When you were running, I think it was the second time I met you. I know I remarked to you along the lines of that I was impressed that when you started to run for it, it was almost as if you had taken a look at yourself and been critical enough of yourself to kind of know this is what I am, this is what I'm strong at. Anybody who's going to run against me might not like A or B about me. So I'm going to address it almost like right away, like in my first mailer. Like I know, you kind of knew this is who I am. And that's got to take a lot to be able to look at yourself and not just look at the good stuff, but to also sit there and say, okay, these are the things that somebody might come after me for. It seemed like you were ready for it walking right out of the gate, but that must be a hard thing to do.
I think for a lot of people it would be, not so much for myself. I think the first time we met was when I knocked on your door when I was campaigning.
That is true. You did.
And you were nice enough to say you put up a lawn sign. But
I was like, Rick, I have everybody on here. I can't put a lawn sign up because I'd have to put 100 up here. And I felt bad. I felt bad telling you that. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the first time we met. And yeah, we had the discussion. And I think the next time I saw you, we went further into that discussion. Yeah. And I have the unique ability to not worry about what people think of me. It's not that I don't care. It's that if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to change who I am to make myself look better in someone else's eyes. So knowing that people are going to have critiques, people are going to say negative things about me, doesn't bother me. It's like I said, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. But I've done enough great things in this neighborhood. I've touched a lot of people's lives. I work with so many different people. I know a lot of people. I've lived here my whole life. Most people know that I'm generally a decent human being that cares about our neighborhood. I wouldn't have done all the volunteer things I've done if I didn't care about our neighborhood. So at the end of the day, it was all about make sure this neighborhood stays a great place to live. And that's what I promised everyone I would do. It was, people talk about all these different political issues and things like that, but I mean, I knocked down, 5,000, 10,000 doors during the campaign. And the one thing I came away with is everyone just wants this to stay a great place to live. So every decision I make in Springfield is about on this bill or that bill, does that help Evergreen Park? Does it help Palos Hills? Does it help Oak Lawn? Where we live, is this going to make it a better place to live or a worse place to live, or is it kind of indifferent?
Yeah, your district is not just Evergreen Park. So is that the 3, or is there more of an area? What is it?
There's more. We've got Palos Hills, part of Worth, a significant part of Chicago Ridge, Oak Lawn, south of Southwest Highway pretty much, all of Evergreen Park, and then I have Palos Park north of McCarthy Road.
Okay.
So it's width-wise, north and south is not very wide, but east-west, it's
a stretch. So where there are similarities in those areas, but there's differences. So that's got to be something also that you have to be aware of, is that like one section of that may have different concerns than another. That must be something you have to keep track of.
Absolutely. And that's just a suburban part of the district. There's also, I've got Queen of Martyrs section of Mount Greenwood.
Okay.
And I have Christ the King section of Beverly. And it's kind of being generally speaking without getting into detail which block and so forth. But
right.
So, Chicago has different needs in the suburbs sometimes. Palos Hills may have different needs than Oak Lawn. But generally speaking, we're all one big giant neighborhood out here. And we have very similar needs in all the areas.
Yeah, you just actually came from one of your that place that you were just at was today before you got here. This is the funniest thing in the world. I can't wait to tell you people this. Rick Ryan walks into my basement. And he goes, I just came from my weekly rib eating. And I'm like, what? And every Monday I go eat ribs with these guys. Like, how does that happen? And I think that's the only person I've heard people say we get together and we go to a golf simulator. We get together for a couple of beers, right? I've never had, it's Monday afternoon ribs every week.
So it just evolved. Some friends of mine, we cook ribs. Well, I met you with the rib thing at Holy Redeemer.
We had a big
summer.
conversation there, yeah.
Yeah, so we love cooking ribs. But then this new place opened up in Elsip, Fire Water or something like that, and we went and tried the ribs, and they're fantastic. So if you haven't been, go, for sure. And it would just happen to be a Monday afternoon, and a friend of mine said, next Monday, want to do this again? And I'm like, hell yeah, this is good stuff. So it evolved into every Monday. And we actually made a rule that if you can't make it, you got to give a 1 month's notice. So there are a couple Mondays I got to be out of town soon. So I put my notice out there. I'm following the rules. And,
you have to make sure that they know well in advance.
Yes,
You'll make it to Rib Mondays. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. That's insane. You talked about the different areas inside of your district, and there are different needs in different areas. The one thing I'm always curious about whenever I talk to somebody who's in politics, I think that all of us looking at the national scene can notice that it feels like all the Republicans vote for the Republican stuff, all the Democrats vote for the Democrat stuff, at least on the national level. Okay.
Right.
And you do see it in state politics from some people as well. How do you differentiate between the needs of your district and party? Because there can't be all the time that what the district wants is the same as what the party wants. I mean, I just can't see that always happening. So how do you differentiate between that? And
actually, it doesn't happen a lot. I mean, I can be honest with you. Down there, we have a ton of bills that get voted 118-0. Both parties vote for unanimously for them.
They never talk about that, do they?
No, because that's not controversial. And I just came back from a conference in Virginia with one lawmaker from each state, and they have all across the country. It's like that. Most of the bills are whatever to nothing. But we only talk about the ones that are not voted for or voted along party lines and so forth. So I have a triangle system that I use. It's at the top of the triangle is district, second is morality, and third is party. So if I think this is good for the district, it's always going to get a yes. If I think it's bad for the district, it's going to be a no vote. It's that simple. If the district's indifferent, then I go to the next step is my morality. What does my moral compass say we should do here? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it, yes or no? And then the third and last is party. So I'm not a big party voter. I vote my neighborhood. It's the promise, like I said earlier today, and I promised 10,000 people when I was at the doors, is I'm going to vote for our neighborhood. So that is my priority. It is what I will do on every vote. And, I've talked to the speaker before, and he says, I told him that's my philosophy. I'm not going to always be with you. I'm not always going to be voting for our party. And he's fine with that. He said, Rick, vote your neighborhood. That's what you promise people. That's admirable if you want to do that. And he has no problem with that. So he doesn't put pressure on me to, push one way or the other that's going to hurt our neighborhood.
Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are the things that Country Financial stands for. They're more than just an office you may pass by as you drive through Evergreen Park. They're neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of your community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. And since Country is already your neighbor, they want to get together and chat. Call your local Country Financial representative, Mike Thauer, today at 708-425-1559 to talk about the things that are important to you and how he can help you protect them. More with Representative Rick Ryan in moments, but first, your EP podcast Word on the Street, brought to you by Spoken Vine Wine Bar and Bottle Shop, northeast corner of 95th and Kedzie, one of my favorite places to go. You can pick from one of the many wines, over 100 I believe, that they have rotating through. They'll tell you a story about the wine. They'll give you a sample. You can do entire tastings. Small plates, incredible food, great atmosphere, 21 and over. Make it your spot this weekend. There's a good chance I'm going to do that. See everything from their events to their tastings to the menu at SpokenVineWines.com. The Office of Citizen Services wants you to know about an AARP Smart Driving class being offered Thursday the 7th and Thursday the 14th of August, 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. $20 for AARP members, $25 for non-members. It is an 8-hour refresher course designed for motorists 50 and older to refresh their existing driving skills. Although I'm pretty sure if you ask somebody who's 50 or older if they need a refresher, they're going to say, nope, these damn kids do. Meanwhile, the Memories to Go Village Garage Sale is Saturday, September the 6th, 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Yukich Field at 89th and Kedzie. You bring all your wares out to one location. It's like a flea market, but classier. Get the application on the Evergreen Park website, evergreenpark-ill.com. And the youth department is having laser tag Friday, September the 12th. Yeah, 6 p.m. until 7:30 for $35 to get pizza. You get to shoot all your friends with lasers. Kids grades 5 through 12 register at the Youth Center before August 29th. That's your word on the street. Rick Ryan's down here. He's your state representative. I feel like COVID taught us a lot about how local government and the lower levels of government, not the big national levels, mattered more. I bring this up all the time when I talk about government with my kids. Chicago and Evergreen Park did it differently. It mattered. It mattered to businesses, it mattered to families, it mattered to everybody what their local government was doing. It changed the experience depending on where you lived, even a couple of blocks one way or the other way, right here on the south side. And I would imagine you have to keep that in mind as a state representative, the importance of that local level.
Absolutely. And it's a great example was during COVID is, even Evergreen Park shut down for a small period of time to just try to figure out what to do. And I remember calling Mayor Sexton at the time and saying, listen, you got to get up and running again. And I wasn't state representative at the time, obviously, but I'm like, hey, there's, real people are trying to sell their houses and the village isn't open to get real estate transfer stamps or something, so they can't close on their house and they're supposed to move next week, so and the mayor saw that immediately. His leadership was phenomenal, and he got the village back up and running very quickly with also being able to protect his employees from getting sick from COVID. So they were up and running real quick, and they did a great job. And
they did a good job of talking with local hospitals. Like, they got their own numbers. I remember that was the difference between them and a lot of other areas. They said, okay, hold on a second. What are we doing here? What works for us in this area? Because if we start doing these big overarching things, it may not make sense for where we are right now. I always, that's the thing I always come back to when I talk about government with anything, when I talk with my kids about it. I keep going back to that time period and how local on the ground government made such a difference, when I think up until that point I never thought it mattered at all.
Yeah, and it's quite the opposite. The national stuff gets the news, but local is where it's all at. I mean, it's your local ordinances. It's. Do you have access to the President of the United States?
No.
And I've known Dick Durbin for 35 years. I don't have access to him either. I can't call U.S. Senator Durbin and say, hey, I need this for Evergreen Park. It's just not going to happen, And I'm a state representative, let alone, regular citizen. So
he'd be like, who?
Yeah, I remember you. I met you a few times, but here you can call your mayor. You can call my office. You can call Mayor Burke's office, and we'll get an answer for you. If there's, when I spend my first 2-3 hours a day in Springfield every morning is dealing with people's constituent concerns where they're talking to a state agency and they can't get through. They can't get their question answered, and I'm able to call that state agency and get the question answered for them. So really from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. every day I'm in Springfield, that's what I'm doing before session starts and the committee start and all that stuff. So it is really the best form of government is your local government. It's funny that turnout is the opposite of importance. We have massive turnout in the national elections and horrible turnout in the local elections. And it's the exact opposite of importance and how it affects your daily life.
Well, a perfect example of something we just talked about in the last episode of the EP podcast. And I don't know if you heard it, so
I haven't had a chance to hear it yet.
But Mark Marzullo came in here, village trustee.
And he didn't talk much, did he?
No, yeah, he's a wallflower, that one. He never says anything. And he goes, we're through 15 minutes with him so fast, I can't even believe it. The clock seems to just fly. But he was talking about the electric scooters and the electric bikes, and the fact that the ordinances are all to a point where they just never saw this coming.
Right.
And now when you have people that, blow stop signs and aren't paying any attention, you have kids that are on these things and they're driving through an intersection and nobody sees them coming, and they're really on a motorized vehicle. And the fact that the village is looking at now, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to come up with some policy. He said this on the show last week. We have to come up with some policy on this because the idea that parents were going to make sure the kids were trained to do this seems to be out the window. Like, we just have some of them out there and somebody's going to get hurt. So we have to figure it out. So local government in that instance, it sounds like, would be the first one that addresses it. And then you probably have other areas, villages, that may be dealing with the same thing. And then you as a rep may look at that eventually and say, okay, when this gets to the statewide, if this ever becomes a statewide thing, how we're going to regulate these things. Now you go and you look at what's in your area because there might be a statewide vote on it. I'm looking off in the future and making an example. Yeah. Tell me if I'm wrong there, but that sounds like that's how that would go.
And you know what?
Naturally.
I sit on my porch many days and I see these kids flying by, texting, sitting out, looking at their phones, right through a stop sign. And I worry more about the kids running a stop sign.
Right.
And getting hit by a car where the other street doesn't have a stop sign. We don't only have 4-way stops in Evergreen Park, Oak Lawn, and wherever. Sometimes there are 2-way stops. So, someone's going to get run over. Someone's going to get killed. And is that a parent issue? Is it a society issue? Is it a municipal issue? Is it a state issue? It's probably all of the above, But, I don't. When I was in 8th grade, I was supposed to get a moped for my graduation present.
Well, we were talking about that. Like, we used to try to motorize our bike and then ride it through a field. Like, we weren't like, we were crazy back when we were younger. Our generation's kind of nuts.
We didn't do it in the streets. We did it in the prairies.
That's the difference.
The kids don't have prairies no more.
And we weren't looking at this.
No,
we weren't on a cell phone.
Correct.
Staring at like the amount of near accidents I have, even with adults, where I drive by the person and they're texting. And that's the difference in everything. When anybody ever says, well, you used to, when we did it, we were 100% focused on what we were doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I've been meaning to look up the statute for the last 2 weeks, literally. Don't we have a law that covers this? Isn't this a motorized vehicle? Children aren't allowed to drive motorized vehicles. So why are they being allowed to drive these things? And like I said, I haven't been able to look it up, but I'm pretty sure we probably have a law covering this already, and it's probably illegal. And now, is it a policing thing then? Do the police need to start writing these kids tickets because they're violating? They don't have a driver's license. They're operating a motorized vehicle. Is there an exception for motorized scooters? I don't think so. but I haven't had a chance to look.
I think it's the electric or the battery aspect of it. That's the way it was kind of explained.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a loophole that needs to be closed.
But I don't think the statute says combustible engine.
Yeah.
I think it just says motorized. And a battery is there a motor inside the battery? Maybe that is the exception. Maybe that is why it hasn't been done. But certainly, it's a safety issue. And do we as government step in and say we're going to tell parents what to do for their kids? That's always a question. Is it a parent issue or is it a government issue?
But it also seems like it's something that probably starts at the local level, and then when you start to see the local buzz, then your level, which is one level higher, would then next be the one to get involved, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So and sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the state makes a law and the ordinances never hit the books in the villages and towns, and sometimes it's ordinances start popping around throughout the state, and when we start talking to them as colleagues in legislature, like, hey, we just got this new ordinance in Oak Lawn, or somebody from Mattoon might tell me about something they didn't. I said, that would make sense in my district too.
Right.
And I think that's how we end up materializing a state law down the road.
Are you working on anything right now? Is there anything exciting? Have you sponsored a bill yet? Like, is that like a rite of passage?
Well, your first bill is like special, like, and they harass you while you're trying to get it passed too, because they know you're a rookie.
Like Rick here hasn't even gotten his first bill, and everybody just laughs.
Well, it's more while you're passing, they start asking you insane questions that, it's an initiation of sorts. So,
okay.
Yeah, we passed 5 bills last year. One had to do with how dentists are paid because insurance companies were kind of not doing the right thing and then billing they weren't paying the bills and then billing the patients. So we got that cleared up. So now dentists, unlike doctors, couldn't direct bill insurance company.
Oh, okay. Now they can.
That
makes sense. That's got to be one of those ones that got the majority of votes, I would think. That doesn't sound like a party line one.
All 5 of my bills passed 118 to nothing.
Really?
Yes.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Rick Ryan passes bills.
Uncontroversial Rick Ryan passes bills.
You're the uncontroversial Rick Ryan. That's your next slogan in re-election.
Yes.
Uncontroversial Rick Ryan would like to be re-elected, right?
Rick gets everybody to vote his way.
He goes for the low-hanging fruit. That's the easy bills.
That's the issue. Is it low-hanging fruit? But I've got a couple I'm working on for next session.
Okay.
One is I've had several constituents call me and they're complaining. The senior citizens complaining their license plate fees are too high. So we have now a thing for seniors with income like 30 or 40,000 and less get a reduced fee for their license plates. I don't think that's high enough. I think I want to increase that to maybe a senior that makes 60 or 80,000. We're going to work on the number, but we're working on that bill now. But there's another one more for students. It's in the drafting stage now in what's called LRB in Springfield. And it is something that would mandate all the high schools in Illinois have to have one day set aside for a year for juniors and then also senior year, that it'd be similar to a job fair day, but more than job fair. It would allow like unions to come in and say, hey, this is available to you if you don't want to go to high school. Or if you don't want to go to college. You can become a carpenter, a laborer, or an electrician. Let them know about the trades. Have banks come in and teach these kids how to open a checking account, how to get a loan if they want to buy a house. Have healthcare providers come teach them, if I don't get a job right away, how do I get healthcare if I'm 18 years old and I don't live with my parents anymore? So it's more of a life lesson training ground for our high school students who just kind of don't know their way around yet. It teach them all the kind of basic skills of becoming an adult that we just assume they're going to learn through adulthood, but they don't.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because some of the local high schools you can see are trying to do that.
Yes,
I know that Brother Rice does like a whole semester on like basically how to take care of yourself, like as an adult. I know Evergreen Park, because they've been down here, does a thing where they're working the trades. They're giving them the opportunities to see like all the different paths that they could do. So I mean, you see some of them doing it, but it makes sense that everybody should be doing it
for sure.
Those shouldn't be astounding things. Those should be
this
normal things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be the exception of the rule. It should be the rule. Right.
Yeah.
So I want to make it a rule, and a rule is a law. Same thing. But yeah, I think that would be good.
I was laughing. I felt like I was being explained what a law was, and then you were going to do the bill, and then you were going to break into that song from the 70s about what a bill is.
All right, we got to talk about songs first. Someone asked me what's the most unique thing you've done as a state rep, and I was at this school function I forget what it was called, the name of the organization, but I went and toured a school. They showed me around. They said, we have our statewide convention coming up in a couple weeks. Would you come? I said, absolutely, I'll be there, And they had this song they sang as part of their little group. Like, will you sing the song with us to the convention? And I thought they were kidding, of course,
Right.
Because they've never heard me sing, and I can't. I'm like, oh, of course I will, And then I walk in, there's 2,500 people in the room, and I've never even spoken in front of 2,500 people before, let alone sing a song. And they point to me, they bring me up on stage, they're waving to me, and I'm like, they got to be kidding me, right? And I get up, and the music starts playing, and the woman made me sing the song with her. And, she has no microphone. I'm the only one with a microphone. And I'm really horrible at singing. So that was the goofiest thing I've had to do as a state representative. And I think they were very nice that people smiled. They didn't put their hands on their ears, but they should have.
Yeah, they all owe you a vote after they made you do that.
Yes.
I think that you should keep a little book of the people that owe you votes.
Yeah, so I've talked to many legislators like, I've been doing this 20 years. I've never had to sing before.
Yeah, it sounds like you're getting. I think you're getting hazed a few times.
Yeah, I'm singing for my suppers.
It sounds like you're getting hazed. Okay, but you got your Rib Mondays, which sound like they're an awful lot of fun. Yeah. You're passing the uncontroversial bills. I dig that. I think that's actually kind of a funny thing. And do me a favor, lower my taxes as much as you can. That's the only request I have.
All right.
Okay. I mean, let's get rid of some of these gas taxes and let's just lower these.
I brought with me something. I'm walking around the neighborhood this summer.
Yeah.
With a little piece that we've done. So I grouped together with about 20 more moderate people in my party down in Springfield to try to take on some of these issues with taxes. So I was going to let you know some of the ones that were floated around that our group stopped. Okay. So one was they wanted to pass a 1% income tax increase. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
God, makes you want to throw up,
stopped
right?
that.
We stopped that.
Good.
Okay. They wanted to tax your Netflix. Your Netflix bill.
That's ridiculous.
They want to tax Amazon every delivery to your door.
Tax on I remember seeing that online. That angered me so much.
And you're welcome.
Right.
We stopped that.
Okay.
We stopped that. I didn't do it alone, but I did it with my group of 20, and we were able to stop a lot of these bad. They wanted to start taxing services, like when you go get a haircut.
Yeah.
The tax on the service of cutting hair. We stopped that.
I mean, if you think about it, I'm a business owner who sells commercial advertisements, right? So I don't have to add taxes when I sell it because I'm selling a service.
Correct.
You would have changed my whole business.
Yes.
You could have crushed the business after
and tons of other small businesses.
Oh, yeah. You could have crushed it with that
one. So we stopped as much as we could stop. I'm going to, for how many years I'm down there, the voters will let me go down there, I'm going to go. And this kind of thing. So I never thought I was down there to play defense. Like you said, what does the legislator do? What bills did you pass? And that's kind of how everyone thinks about what Springfield is. You're passing laws. But I'm also down there to stop bad things from happening, bad laws. So that's the part of it that, even though I have a ton of experience in this field, I didn't realize how much defense I was going to have to play in Springfield.
You didn't realize how many times you'd be like, wait, what are we doing?
No. And then, no, we're not.
It's so scary.
And luckily,
it's so scary.
It is. And you would not believe some of the stuff people think about down there about, we'll just raise the taxes on this so we can do this.
What, they got too much time on their hands?
They don't care. I mean, here's what it is. I will tell you this. Of all my colleagues in Springfield, they all really care about their districts. I truly believe that. But what's best for their district isn't what's best for our district. And that's why I'm always going to vote district.
Yeah.
Because where they may not have a district that really gets taxed heavily because there's no income, it's more poverty or more poor, they think taxing the middle class is a way out of poverty. So, our district's middle class. So I'm there to stop that from happening. So it's everyone truly wants to do what's right for their area, but the area conflicts in different ways to different areas. So it's people that care about their area trying to do things that will really hurt our area is the battle, really. And I'm here to fight our battle for our district.
All right, well, good. Okay, no new taxes.
No.
All right.
And we got to get rid of some of the ones that are on the books.
Some of the ones that are on the books.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's not as... Look, I lived in California for a while.
Talk about taxes.
It's not as bad, but I get scared sometimes when I see, like, we're going to raise this just a little bit with the license plates, and we're going to raise this a little bit with the gas taxes, because 20 years ago when I was in California, that's when they started doing it.
Yep.
And now it's become, like, almost prohibitive to own a car there if you're middle class for the amount of money that you have to pay in taxes just to be able to operate the vehicle.
Yeah.
So I think that those are some of the scariest things to me. So I'm glad that you're down there and you got your gang of 20
We're a little over 20. We're a little over 20.
All right.
We're all fiscally conservative, and most of us believe in. I think everyone wants their neighborhood safe, but there are some of us down there that also are saying no to criminal justice reform, of letting people out early, felons out early from prison, or being able to be resentenced. We have a lot more liberal judges now that will resentence somebody to less years or let them out of jail now for a crime they committed and the judge already sentenced them for. So that's a lot of no stuff too. No, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to stop that. So that more of the criminal justice stuff where we want to make sure we keep our neighborhood safe and violent felons aren't getting put back in the street early. That was more a bipartisan thing that I was able to work on. So I was part of the criminal justice committee, and there's more Democrats than Republicans, but three of us Democrats teamed up with the Republicans to block a lot of that stuff. So we crossed the aisle, worked with the other side to be able to make sure this neighborhood stays a safer place for us to raise our children. And that I'm very proud of, being able to work with both sides of the aisle on that. There's very, very little of that in Springfield right now.
Look, it goes back to the earlier question right at the beginning. We'll end on it too, because that's the thing. That's the thing I think that most of us want to hear. We want to hear that you're making decisions based upon your area and common sense, and not it's got a D or an R, it's red or it's blue, it's a donkey or it's an elephant. Like you can't do that, because that's where I think some of the nonsense of especially the last 10 years or so, but I mean, it's been going on for a while, has come from. And so I like hearing that. That's great, Rick. You can go back to the bar more often after that.
I'd love to come back again. Anytime you want me, I'll come back. And you're right. The best phrase you use is common sense. It's just common sense stuff. We go down there with common sense approach. People say, you know what, you're normal. I like you. I'm like, when did normal become a superlative?
You're normal. Rick Ryan is normal, and he's not trying to cause any controversy, and he passes all of his bills unanimously, and my business doesn't have to worry about service taxes because of him, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.